right, so this is the matchup. We've seen it a few times, and now we're going to get the opportunity to watch two of the game's greats go head-to-head in Kansas City, where the Chiefs are favored by 1.5 on Sunday. But, Key, how do the Bills pull off an upset over the Chiefs?
Paul.
Yo.
How do they pull off the upset? You were laughing at my take earlier in the
Are we going to start with Paul?
You said they got to score the ball.
Points.
That's not what I said.
That's what he said. They got to score points.
He didn't even let me finish. I was saying, he didn't even let me get to, I said they got to score points, but he never let me finish. See, you know, Paul, he's silly.
I know,
but look,
you know, in basketball games, how do you win? You got to put the ball in the basket.
Oh, God, stop.
Well, of course.
He goes, that's a really hot take. Duh. But, you know, play keep away. Number one, let's play keep away from Patrick Mahomes. Don't give him any extra possessions to put points on the board. But when Buffalo has the football, they can't. I understand Josh Allen is this big, strong quarterback that can tush push, and he can quarterback sneak, and he can get you 4th and 2 and all. Don't play those games. Kick the field goal, take the points. You got to put points on the board, because the moment that you miss and you don't get 4th and 2, or you don't get 4th and inches, or whatever the case may be, when you right there on the cusp of that 35-yard field goal or something like that, you now giving the Kansas City Chiefs an extra possession immediately. And they go down the field and they score, because what Kansas City is going to do is they're going to kick the field goal. They're going to compile points, because what do you need, Paul, to win the game?
You need to score points.
You need to score points. Simple. It's not that difficult, though. I think, you know, for Buffalo to win, though, in all honesty, they got to put them points on the board. Don't leave any behind, and then taking them back to Buffalo on their plane with you when you lose the game.
So you want them to play a more conservative style, then?
It's not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily call it conservative. You just need to know who your opponent is. That's what it is. Opposed to every single time, 4th and 2, we're on the 40-yard line, or let's say we're on the 45-yard line and it's 4th and 2, we're going to go for it because analytics say we've done it 90% of the time. Don't play yourself. Don't get silly in this situation.
Just take the 3?
Take the 3.
I kind of disagree with Key. I think you got to take chances. You're on the road. You playing the defending champs, and you really got to beat them. On 4th and 2, you got to go for it. But you got to, and that makes them play under pressure. See, I believe that they have to limit their mistakes. You have to play mistake-free football against Kansas City.
But if you don't get it, Paul, that's a mistake.
Yeah, but you got to put pressure on them. And what I mean by that, putting pressure on them, you can't be just floating through the game and one possession score, staying close to the Chiefs. You got to go up there and be up by 2 possessions or more throughout the game, and it puts pressure on them to drive and complete third down passes. And, you know, it's just things of that nature. And Josh he can't be Clark Kent. He was Clark Kent versus the Ravens. He has to be Superman, and it's something he's done all year long. He has to show everybody why I believe he will be the MVP. And he has to walk away from this game having us say, that's one of the best performances I've seen in an AFC Championship game. If they want to come out here and get over the hump, take the leap, and take down Mount Mahomes in the AFC Championship game in Kansas City. You know,
the Chiefs won every single game this year except for one, and that was against the Bills. I'm not going to count the last week when everyone was sitting. They lost one game, and that was to the Bills this year. All year long, we've been talking about how to beat the Chiefs and how the Chiefs look and can they keep winning, playing the way that they're playing. So to me, I agree with Paul in the sense that I think you have to win this game convincingly. Yeah. If you stay in a close battle with the Chiefs are going to do what they always do, find a way to win at the end. That is their magic. That is what they've done all season long. And that's what they've done to the Bills several times as well, particularly in the postseason. If you're going to win, you're going to need to win convincingly. Yes. Obviously, playing mistake-free ball is going to be important. At the very least, if you're not going to do that, you're going to need to win the turnover battle. You're not going to be able to give them extra possessions. I do agree you have to be able to take points when you have the opportunity to get them.
You got to take the points.
But I think you need to win convincingly. When they beat the Chiefs in Week 11, they won 30-21. Josh Allen was great. Big-time numbers, rushing yards, passing. He wasn't perfect, but
every regular season.
every regular season, yes. But when you're looking at the way that the Chiefs play this year, I don't think you're going to be able to win, even in past seasons when they're in close games. 13 seconds. You won the game, but it was close enough that they could come back and steal it from you. They have to win this game convincingly.
But taking points doesn't mean it's a close game. It means that I need to put points on the board because the more points I put on the board, those numbers go up.
Yes.
If I look up and all of a sudden it's 6-7, and I got an opportunity to make it 9-7, but I'm going to go for it on that 35-yard line because I'm going to get the first down.
I believe you have to go for it.
You mess around and you miss. You getting ready to go down now.
You gotta take chances.
No, you can't do this in this, man. This ain't the regular season. I'm telling you, Paul, this ain't the regular season.
I agree with Key in that
you got to put points on the board.
The point swing with a team like Kansas City is more damaging. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go for it at all on fourth, but you do need to take all the points that you can get.
You got to take the points.
If they're they have to capitalize in the red zone, and the Bills have been one of the best red zone teams all year long. But I truly believe you have to take risk. You have to take risk, and I think that's how you beat this team. If you play conservative, you allow Mahomes back in the game with a last-second drive. You allow the refs to make a call that everybody's saying these calls that the Chiefs get. You allow the refs. You have to take it out of the referee's hands.
Let me ask you this,
You have
Paul.
to take it out of the hands.
Now, Patrick Mahomes. Now we worried about the refs and Patrick Mahomes. But let me ask you this, though, Paul. Would you rather be up 10-6 against Patrick Mahomes or 7-6 against Patrick Mahomes?
I'd rather be up 14-6.
Okay. Okay.
I'd rather be up 14 because I went for it on 4th and 2, and I got it, and it ended up in a touchdown. I'd rather be up 14-6.
But you know there's also a risk to that of not going up 14.
Absolutely.
And going down.
But look what I'm faced against. I'm faced.
Now you're going to go
Patrick
down.
Mahomes. I'm faced with everybody wants to kind of say the referee. It's so much. That's why you got to go out there and beat them. You got to go for it. This is it. This is it. Because if it's close and it's at the end, we know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen.
Know the movie at the end.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you got to go out and beat them.
Yeah, but you
10-6. Nah,
putting points on the board
I don't want to be up
beating them
10-6
because you flip the mindset of what they want to do when you start putting points on the board.
Like say this, Key. When you start going for it and you getting it and you converting and you getting in the zone, you not only going in having the lead, but you breaking the mental. You breaking that mental.
You're breaking the mental when you
start
put
putting crack. You start to put crack in the armor. You got to understand, like when you start seeing that crack in the armor and they like, dang, they coming after us. It puts pressure, and they got to apply pressure.
You do realize you are at home. You're not in Buffalo. So you want points because what you want to do is you want to quiet the crowd. You go for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 2.5, and you miss.
I seen it work for the Commanders. I seen it work for them last week.
Yeah, but that's it. The Detroit Lions.
They went for it.
But let me tell you something. The Detroit Lion fans, when they scream, it don't get loud because they ain't never been there before. They don't know how to keep it loud. Kansas City Chiefs fans, when they stop you, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, whatever that may be, they go crazy. All that momentum shifts. Mm-hmm. You're at home. When you're on the road, you're not at home. If you're at home, that's a different situation.
If I'm on, this is the thing. Like if I'm on, like say basketball, let's talk hoops. If I'm on the road and we're down 2, Key, I'm going for 3 for the win. I'm not trying to go to overtime. I'm not trying to keep it close.
You gotta
no, but it's a similar. You really gotta go for the kill versus the Chiefs.
No, hoops is way.
You gotta go for the kill.
I think you have to go for the kill in that if they're going to win this game, they need to win convincingly.
Yes.
The only way you're gonna win convincingly is by putting points on the board.
I agree with Key in that.
You gotta put points up
if
there.
If you're going to take the risks, then you absolutely have to convert on them every single time.
I think that's what they got to do.
That's what you have to count on.
That's what you got to do.
Time and time again,
you miss.
He has met Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, and time again, no matter what kind of roster they have, no matter what kind of run they're on, what kind of regular season performances he's had, 0-3.
And they tried that. They tried it by not taking risks, and they keep losing.
No, they was taking risks. You keep giving them short fields, taking risks. I want Patrick Mahomes to go 80. I don't want him to go 55. I want him to go 80. I want his butt to go 80 if he going to beat me.
Well, the Chicago Bears have their new head coach. Ben Johnson was introduced in Chicago yesterday as the 19th head coach in Bears history. Caleb Williams' rookie season didn't live up to some people's expectations, so the pressure will be on the new coach in Chicago to get Caleb back on track. Colin Cowherd had Ben Johnson on earlier and asked him how his offense will change with Caleb. Let's take a listen.
It remains to be seen. I don't know Caleb like that quite yet, but I'm really encouraged with what I've seen on tape from him so far from this season. It's going to morph. It's not going to look the same as what it did in Detroit. There are a lot of elements that I do believe in. We want the same things to look different. Different things look the same. Multiplicity. We want the defense on their heels and guessing at all times. But at the end of the day, Caleb's gonna really dictate the direction that this offense goes and what we end up looking like.
So,
Yeah.
is that inspiring, Paul? What are your expectations for the Bears?
Well,
in
yeah, you
2025?
you got to be optimistic when you get a new head coach and an offensive coach who can cater to Caleb's needs. It's all gonna hang on, like you said, it's all gonna hang on how Caleb performs, and I believe there's gonna be a progression to where he's gonna get better. But my expectations for the Bears, I don't really have no expectations. They're in a tough division. I really don't see them being competitive in that division when you got, the Lions,
Packers,
Green Bay,
Vikings.
the Vikings. All these teams were great last year, and I figured that the Green Bay Packers are going to be better. I just want to see Caleb start to develop. That's what you want. I don't have the expectations of the Bears doing this or that. As long as we see a progression and the potential of this quarterback that they picked at number one, the number one pick in the draft, he has to get better, and I believe that he will. He has all the tools to be great. He has to continue to grow, and as he grows, I believe the Chicago Bears will grow. Will that happen in year two? I think there's going to be steps to this. But as far as expectations for the Bears, I don't really have much.
Real simple. Win more games than you did a year ago and get into the playoffs.
Whoa.
Here's what I'm
again.
Here's what I'm going to say, John.
Hold on.
Here's what I'm going to say.
Hold on. Clarify, please.
Win more games than you did a year ago and get into the playoffs.
And
Okay, and here's why. Because you have a team that has talent. Okay, you have a quarterback that could potentially have talent if you can unlock it as this great offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson. I don't want to call him a guru or genius or none of those sort of things. But when you look at the overall division, only one team came out of division undefeated, and that was Detroit. Mm-hmm. Okay, Minnesota was 4-2 within the division. Green Bay was 1-5 within the division. Chicago was 1-5 within the division. Take care of that. Okay, Green Bay ain't a juggernaut. They're not and Paul said they're a great team. They were 1-5 within their own division. They were not like this juggernaut.
Winning more games and getting to the playoffs, that's not necessarily.
Well, right now they're scheduled to win 8.5 games. Mm-hmm. That's what the schedule says. They're going to win 8.5. Okay, make that 10. You hired this coach to develop the quarterback, but also a solid, rock-solid defense that you have that can carry you to the point where you don't have to have this quarterback become Patrick Mahomes. He can just be a manager and not wreck the bus and be fine and win games that way. I don't know how many times I got to say it. You don't have to have, just because you drafted number one overall, he doesn't need to throw the ball 40 times a game.
Right.
He just doesn't.
I just want Caleb to look better. I want him to look like a franchise quarterback.
But
I want to see consistency throughout the year. I'd like to see what Dan Campbell did for the Lions. I would like to see Ben Johnson do that for the Chicago Bears. When Dan Campbell came to the Lions, they were 3-13-1 his first year.
But he didn't take over a team that was the Chicago Bears.
Oh.
Dan Campble. He took over
they had a bear,
dog.
Yeah,
this team is not a dog.
Coverage were bear. Sure. But what I'm saying is they were bad. 3-13-1 was bad. But they were interesting bad. They had something they were putting together there. You could tell he was building some sort of identity or culture. Then the very next year, 2022, they were 9-8.
Yeah.
Big jump. Still losing, still didn't make the playoffs, but they could see growth. You could see how they were losing games. They were in it to the very end. They just needed a little more talent. There's just a little tweaking here, a little movement there, and they'll be able to take a step up. And what happened? 2023, They're 12-5. And then this year, obviously, they have the #1 seed in the NFC. Disappointing end to the season, of course, but the growth you could see each year, and the substantial growth was 21-22, 3-13-1 to 9-8. Again, still not making the playoffs, but they looked like a team that was ready to take the next step, and they were. So I don't care about them making the playoffs. They're in maybe the toughest division in football right now, if not one of the toughest divisions in football. So maybe there'll be some movement. The Lions take a step back. The Packers take a step up. Who knows what happens with the Vikings quarterback position. Divisions are not the same year to year, no matter what we expect. However, the #1 priority should have been this year to develop Caleb Williams. They had the wrong coaching staff this past year. This upcoming year with Ben Johnson, the #1 goal is to get him to a place where you know he is the guy, he feels confident, he feels comfortable, and you're seeing growth and development with him, and then that spreads to the rest of the locker room.
But you can't be 3-13-1.
I don't
developing
think they should be 3-13-1. But what difference does it make if they're 3-13-1 or they're 9-8 and miss the playoffs?
The difference is
if Caleb Williams looks like the guy.
But he ain't gonna look like the guy if you're 3-13-1.
Says who?
You're not going. You can't look like the guy at 3-13-1. You're gonna win. You got to win.
Okay,
games.
so say he wins 6 games.
Okay, if he wins 6 games, that's one more than they won a year ago.
That's improvement.
But this team is not set up for improvement.
I don't care about the team.
But
I don't care about the team. This is what I said last year. I said
they didn't hire Ben Johnson.
Year.
But they didn't hire.
Who cares about how good the Chicago Bears are? You drafted
the veteran players in that damn locker room.
I don't care about the veteran players. I care about Caleb Williams looking like a franchise quarterback.
That's you.
That's why they're in this.
Jalen Johnson doesn't feel that way.
I hear you. However, the reason that they continue to lose is because everyone's worried about how good the Bears turnaround is going to be because of all the talent. The only person that matters is that quarterback and developing him.
But I got to keep my job. And if I'm 3-13-1 or I'm 9-8, I'm going to get fired. And he's going to be out of there in 3 years at the quarterback position because I got to now reset the market.
Get fired and not get another opportunity to be a head coach somewhere else if you lose and Caleb Williams doesn't develop.
Yeah, but you can win and you can win and get into the playoffs developing a certain way.
And you can develop the quarterback and not get into the playoffs.
No, we ain't developing him and not getting in the playoffs. That's not going to happen.
Yes, it does. You know, I don't just see a situation where a new head coach comes in and you're like, oh, we're going to make the playoffs, especially with the way they were last year, with the way Caleb played, was up and down, didn't know if his line was going to block him today or tomorrow.
All that's coaching, though, Paul. All that is coaching.
But the first thing you do as a coach, when you come to a new organization, and I know we talk about Caleb, you got to establish a culture.
Yeah.
You got to give your team an identity. Let's work on that to start.
Okay, go 3-13.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not advocating for 3-13.
I dare you.
I'm not advocating
They're not going to go 3-13.
I'm just saying they're going to win 10 games now. This is what they were saying about it last year.
If they finish 500, that's a great year.
The people in Chicago who pay their money to go watch the games,
game over 500,
are anticipating you are bringing in Ben Johnson to help settle things down on the offensive side of the ball and develop this quarterback so that 3 years from now, they can make a decision on whether or not his future is in Chicago. The only way you're going to be able to do that is by winning games. That's the only way. That's it.
No. They can win 2 more games than they did last year. It's a nice season.
Yeah.
Right? And he looks good, and he's upright, and he's developing. And at the end of the season, we say, he's the guy. Now, next season, there are real expectations. You're a season behind now. That's what it should have been this year. But it was Super Bowl and NFC Championship game and the Chicago Bears and the roster.
No, you're
Look
right.
at you now.
They have a new coach based on what Matt Eberflus was doing on both sides of the ball. But they were able to draft Caleb.
The chatter was the same as what you're saying. We have to go to the playoffs.
But you know why?
We have to be good because of the roster.
But you know why?
You got to lower the expectations.
Because of the roster. Caleb Williams is a Chicago Bear, not because Chicago was dog sorry, because Carolina was dog sorry.
I remember.
So they backed into Caleb because the team actually was one of the top 3 defenses on the defensive side of the ball the second half of the season in the National Football League. So they had some stuff. With that stuff came expectations. Those expectations don't go away. All they do is heighten because you're now plucking the offensive coordinator that supposedly turned Jared Goff around magically overnight. That's what the people said. They said, we're going to get the best offensive coordinator. The number one candidate out there is Ben Johnson. Ahead of Vrabel, ahead of Belichick, ahead of all these people. The number one guy. And you want them to just go 3-13?
I am not advocating for 3-13. I'm just saying I don't care if they make the playoffs or not. It's irrelevant.
That's not what the people of Chicago think.
Well, you know what? Keep having these super unrealistic pressures and expectations, and don't focus on developing Caleb Williams, and we'll be, time is a flat circle, right back in the same situation again next year. Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.